Disclaimer: the testimonies shared on this channel are presented exactly as received, reflecting the personal experiences and perspectives of the individuals who have kindly shared them with us. While we do not verify or authenticate the events described, we encourage our viewers to approach these stories with compassion and empathy, as they represent the personal journeys of those involved. We appreciate your understanding and patience. Today's experience was shared with us by a brother from Iraq. What he is about to share is a story you won't want to miss. Please watch until the end to fully understand his experience. Trust me, this is a story you don't want to miss.
My name is Ahmed Yusuf. I was born in the historic city of Baghdad, Iraq. My childhood unfolded along the banks of the Tigris River, surrounded by the sounds of bustling markets and the call to prayer drifting from the minarets. For as long as I can remember, Islam has been the heartbeat of my life. I was the eldest son in a devout Muslim family. My father, a respected scholar of the Quran, planted in me a deep reverence for the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. By the age of 10, I had memorized the Quran, and as I grew older, I immersed myself in the Hadith. By 20, I was leading prayers in my local mosque, a role that filled my family with pride. But life in Iraq was far from peaceful. Years of conflict and instability turned our vibrant city into a place of uncertainty and loss. In 2015, after losing loved ones to the violence, I made the painful choice to live with my wife and 2 young children. We fled to Canada, seeking safety and a fresh start. We settled in Toronto, a city of towering buildings, unfamiliar faces, and frigid winters. Adjusting was hard, the language, the culture, even the snow. Yet my faith anchored me. I became the imam of a small mosque, guiding fellow immigrants who, like me, were rebuilding their lives. My days were spent teaching, leading prayers, and offering hope to those grappling with their new reality. To everyone who knew me, I was a rock of faith. I taught that Islam was the path to salvation, and I believed it with every fiber of my being. But I had no idea my beliefs were about to be shaken in ways I could never have foreseen. It was a snowy evening in Toronto. I had just finished leading the night prayer at the mosque and was driving home. The roads were icy, and a thick fog blurred the streetlights. My mind was on the sermon I'd planned for Friday, how I could urge the congregation to strengthen their faith. As I navigated a quiet road, a truck sped toward me from the opposite direction. It swerved, lost control on the ice, and crashed into my car head-on. The impact was explosive. My body jolted forward, and everything went dark. When I came to, faintly, I heard distant voices and felt searing pain coursing through me. Paramedics were cutting me from the wreckage. I caught someone shouting, "He's critical, get him to the hospital now." In the ambulance, I faded in and out, my life slipping away. I clung to the Shahada in my heart, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. At the hospital, doctors rushed me to the ICU. My family was told I might not survive, broken bones, internal bleeding, a traumatic head injury. Machines kept me alive as my condition worsened. Days passed, and the doctor said it was a matter of time. My body lay still, but something incredible was happening beyond the physical. One night, as my family prayed by my bedside, I felt my spirit lift from my body. I hovered above, gazing down at myself, pale, lifeless, tangled in tubes. I saw my wife's grief, my children's tears. I wanted to comfort them, but I couldn't. A force pulled me away, into a tunnel of thick darkness. Fear gripped me as I realized I was leaving the world behind. The tunnel swallowed me in shadow. The air grew heavy, filled with anguished whispers that swelled into cries of despair. My heart raced, but my voice was silent. Then, the tunnel opened into a vast, barren wasteland. The ground smoked, the air stank of sulfur, and distant screams pierced the silence. This wasn't the world I knew. My faith had taught me of the afterlife, paradise for the faithful, hell for the wicked, but this was something else entirely. As I stood trembling, figures approached. At first, they were mere shapes, but then I recognized them, great Islamic scholars I'd admired my whole life. Their faces were twisted in torment. One stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Ahmed," he said, "you must listen. We're here to warn you." I was stunned. "Warn me? Why are you here, in this place of suffering? You were men of faith." He bowed his head. "We were wrong," he admitted. "We followed teachings that hid the truth. Our rituals couldn't save us. There's only one way to salvation, and it's not what we taught." Before I could respond, another figure appeared. It was the Prophet Muhammad, radiant yet sorrowful. His presence overwhelmed me. "Ahmed," he said, his voice firm yet tender, "you've been chosen to carry a message. What you see is the fate of those who reject the truth." I fell to my knees. "What truth?" I asked, trembling. "I followed your path my whole life." His gaze softened. "Ahmed, the truth isn't in rituals or laws. The truth is in Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one reaches the Father except through him." My mind spun. Jesus? I'd been taught he was a prophet, not the path to God. Yet here, in this place of torment, the prophet I'd revered was telling me otherwise. "You must return," he continued. "Tell the living to seek Jesus. He's the only way. Don't wait, time is short." The ground quaked, the darkness deepened, and I was pulled back through the tunnel, their voices echoing, "Share the message." Suddenly, I was above my hospital bed again. The machines beeped steadily. A light enveloped me, and with a jolt, I gasped awake. My family cried out in shock as the doctors rushed in, amazed I'd survived. But I'd returned with a message that would change everything. Lying in that hospital bed, my body frail but my spirit ablaze, I couldn't shake what I'd seen. The desolation, the scholar's torment, Muhammad's words, "Jesus, the only way." All my life, I'd followed Islam, trusting that prayers and deeds would save me. Now, I'd been shown something beyond that. Days blurred as I wrestled with it. Could this be true? Salvation through Jesus alone. When I returned home, I pored over the Quran, seeking answers. But the more I read, the more I felt a void. It spoke of prophets, of God's mercy, but not of Jesus as I'd encountered him. One night, I knelt in prayer. "God, show me the truth," I pleaded. A quiet voice, not audible, but deep within, whispered, "Seek Jesus." Tears fell as peace washed over me. I began reading about Jesus, his life, his words, his miracles. Then, in a Bible gifted to me in the hospital, I found John 14 verse 6, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." It struck me like lightning. This was it, the truth I'd been seeking. No deeds, no rituals, only Jesus could save me. I had to tell others. First, my family. My wife, Layla, stared at me, stunned. "Ahmed, have you lost your mind? Islam is the truth," she cried. I took her hands. "Layla, it's not what I want, it's what I've seen. Jesus is the way." Tension filled our home. My children asked, "Why, Baba? Why are you different?" It broke my heart, but I couldn't stay silent. Then, I faced my community. At a small gathering of mosque friends, I shared my story, the crash, the vision, Muhammad's message. Silence gave way to anger. "You're mad, Ahmed," one shouted. "You've abandoned Islam." I stood firm. "I haven't abandoned it, I've found the truth. Islam led me to Jesus." The room exploded in debate. Some called me a traitor, others listened, confused. From that day, I became a messenger in Toronto's Muslim community. I spoke of Jesus wherever I could, streets, homes, markets. Many rejected me. "You've lost your way," they'd say. One night, 2 men confronted me. "You're spreading lies," they snarled, shoving me against a wall. "Stop, or you'll pay." Fear surged, but I replied, "The truth can't be silenced." They backed off, but their threat lingered. Opposition grew, whispers, glares, accusations. I'd once been respected, now, I was an outcast. Yet, every time doubt crept in, I felt that peace again, the certainty of Jesus. Months passed, and I kept sharing, losing friends but gaining listeners. Each soul who turned to Jesus fueled my mission. I'd been saved to save others, and no threat could stop me. My journey had just begun.